Good morning, Michelle Riccordella. How
Good
are
morning,
you?
Kathy. How are you?
I'm very well, and I just want to thank you very much for agreeing to do this little episode with me
My
as I
pleasure.
start. Um, this whole pandemic was unforeseen and has really thrown the world into a tizzy, as you know. So I just wrote down a couple questions. I don't want to take a lot of your time, but for the audience, tell us where you work and what your job is.
So, I work here at a school in our district in Washington Township, and I have been a special education aide for the past 15 years in the district.
Okay, and Cuccinella, are you at
I
Cuccinella?
am a Benedict A. Cuccinelli, yes.
Okay, great. So then this year is a little bit different, obviously, and I'm just wondering how you feel the virtual learning went for the second half of the school year.
So, being in a special education classroom is a whole different environment. I was able to be with my students in our little group and then go with them into their homeroom group where they would sometimes do science or they had a special social studies event that they did. And for special education, um, it's a very different experience. When we knew the school was closing, my teacher and I, when we had an idea it was closing, special education students use a lot of hands-on, a lot of manipulatives. So we had to pack up everything that we use with them, and you don't realize how often you reach behind your table and grab a number chart or a manipulative to help count or anything that's a visual. So we had to think what what can we send home with these kids to mimic learning the best that we can at home. And then of course then you have to have those too, and then you're like modeling with them. We did my teacher was fantastic. All of the teachers were fantastic, whether they were general ed or special education. They really rose to the challenge. It was literally one day you were in school and the next day you were not, and it was like figure it out. Not to say that the district wasn't there for support, but what works for one group doesn't work for another, and even what works for one special education group might not work for the other, depending on the children's needs.
Right. And actually, when it first happened, you didn't know really how long this was going to go on. Was it going to go on the whole second half of the school year, which obviously it did.
Right, we were all under the impression naively that, okay, we'll close for 2 weeks. And some of us thought, you know what, we're going to close for 2 weeks. There was like a week until we would go for a break. So many of us thought, we'll close for 2 weeks. They'll give us the extra week. It'll be spring break. Things will be under control. We'll go back. Never, like most people, never realizing that it was going to be extended. No
Yeah.
one could have thought of it.
If only it was only that. I still can't even believe it. Um, so, I don't know. Do you think anything could have been done differently or best that could have been done?
I think,
I mean, these are
fair-
hard questions because,
these are hard, but I think in fairness, because we didn't have the time, I think Washington Township uses Google platform. All the schools have Chromebooks. The kids are one-to-one Chromebook usage from grades 3 to 5, and then we had to scramble to make sure that every child went home with a computer, with a Chromebook,
right.
because you cannot assume that everyone has access to it. You cannot assume that everyone has access to internet.
Mm-hmm.
And you'd be surprised at the amount of students we have that do not have internet.
Yeah.
So the district was really good about making sure that children had hotspots if they needed them.
Right.
Even teachers that live kind of remotely in like Belvedere. My
Oh,
one
yeah.
teacher lives in Belvedere. She couldn't get a signal. So I think they did a really great job with making sure, in their capacity, to the best of their ability, what they could provide. I think going forward, it would be nice to see kind of a more across the board, because like if you went to Old Farmer School, they were doing things very differently than we were, and that happens in the normal world, right?
Right.
In normal everyday school, you don't walk into a school or even walk into a classroom in the same school that the teachers
Exactly.
That's the beauty of everybody's teaching style.
Right.
But I do think just kind of on a national level, we just kind of need this platform to say this is what we want it to look like. And, you know, and here in the district that, you know, you need to be live. I'm just going to throw it out there, 2 hours a day. You know, because some people were live, some people were recording. In the beginning, my teacher would be live, but she would also record because not every student could get on
At that time.
because you have siblings and you have parents working from home. So sometimes there's an issue with connectivity. So she would record it so if they couldn't join us live, that they would at least have access to her lesson, and then we
That's
could
a great
follow up
idea.
with them. But that's a liability and that's a privacy issue, so we were not able to continue with that.
Oh
And
my
that,
gosh.
to me, I don't know what the answer to that is, but I wish that we could I wish we could find a way to do that better, because I think it's very important, even for review. You could tell it when you're working with a student in a small group. You could say, okay, you know what? Go back and watch this part.
I can't
and then come
imagine.
back and meet with me.
I would never have thought that, Michelle. These are
Yes.
the things people don't know, and that is a shame. That's a huge shame. I need to go back and review things, and I'm not a child.
Right.
So, you know, and especially the special ed children, it's a little
Right.
even more difficult.
And there's a big liability, because also you're looking into people's homes, and you know we're not there nosing around to see what somebody's kitchen looks like, but you're in someone's home, and not everybody has the capability to put a child in their bedroom or in a
Right.
quiet space. We have children that live in apartments,
Yeah.
and they're literally sitting on their bed, so you're seeing where they live. And as an educator, you have just as a citizen, you have a legal obligation that if you see something that's not right, you know, you bring it to your superior, but
Right.
you have to report it. So if you hear abusive language in the background, if you see that it looks like the child's not clean, you know, things
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that, so it becomes it's a difficult situation.
I'll tell you, you brought up a bunch of things already that I never gave a thought to.
Yeah,
Just
we
had
didn't either.
just had a couple questions for you, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, we didn't either. And so that's the kind of things that evolved that no one could really foresee. Like initially it was okay, and then it was like, you know what? We're not going to do this.
Right. God, there's no easy answers.
No.
What about, do you feel like, well, I know what I feel, but I'm not in education, but as far as the kids being more behind because it's a different way to learn, more behind educationally, socially?
So I can only speak to the kids that I work with who are challenged socially, even in person.
Right.
And I think I've been doing a lot of reading, and I read this, and it stuck with me that everybody's worried about kids being behind, but for the most part, especially the state of New Jersey, but even across the nation, we're all kind of in the same boat where we didn't reach benchmarks. But then again, the article that I read was like, who are we to say that they're behind? These are arbitrary benchmarks.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of opens up this thing there, well, we say they should be here at the end of the third grade, but maybe that wasn't right all along. You know, so maybe this opens up a new way. You know, there's always blessings, right? So maybe
Yes.
this opens up a different way of seeing that maybe these arbitrary benchmarks really.
Well, it's so funny. You're making me think again, like, maybe they were all way too far ahead. When we grew up, the benchmark, I mean, these kids are learning so much so fast, I feel like. Maybe.
I think so. And I think, you know, you're a mom of three, I'm a mom of three, all in college, and I always say that I feel like it trickles down from college. Colleges expect so much, and to build up to that, it has to start earlier and earlier. And we, being in primary grades from K to 5, see the stress already
Yes.
on these kids. And I always say, I wouldn't want to be a kid now.
I say that almost
I
every
would
day,
not
Michelle, I swear to
be
God.
a kid now. But as far as getting back to your question, it was difficult to, and I don't teach, I support.
Right, right.
or I would work in a small group supporting what the lesson was, and then breaking it down, which is what I do in physically in school. It would be hard to introduce new material. Had we been in school, I think there would have been more new material introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Some children, and we have varied aptitudes.
Yes.
Our class is 3rd, 4th, and 5th special ed.
Mm-hmm.
So we have 3 different grades, and in those grades we have various aptitudes.
Right.
So we had 2 5th graders that really took well to it, and that teacher was able to meet with them independently in a small group and get them a little further along than our other 2 5th graders. And it probably would have been that way physically too, but the gap I don't think would have been, again, my perspective.
Right.
The gap wouldn't have been as wide. I think the goal was to maintain skills and not lose them. And
Yeah.
where we saw that there was a maintenance, and when we saw where there was a strong grasp, to inch it up instead of going a whole step, maybe to go half the step.
Right.
Assess, see how we did. If we needed to backtrack again, we would do that. But socially, very difficult. Very difficult. These are kids that are challenged with eye contact. These are kids that are challenged with having a conversation, and now you have this whole other level of
Yeah.
not being next to somebody, or learning how not to speak over one another.
Right.
The thing is pinging, and
Yeah.
and distraction. You're home, you're in your house,
Oh, yeah.
and your brother is learning right next to you, and your dad is working,
Mm-hmm.
and the dog is barking, and these
Yeah.
are children more often than not that suffer with distractibility issues. When we're
Right.
at school, we're able to hone it in a little bit more.
Sure.
When you're at home, I know myself, I'd be working, and the dog would be barking, and to have the dog, I have the ability to be in a closed room, but still, the house is going on,
Absolutely.
so that was very difficult.
Yeah. I can only imagine, actually. Yeah. The whole thing is just so unfortunate, and nobody thought it would go on this long. But
No, we don't know what's gonna
And that was
happen.
going to be my next question. Now, I've heard, and I don't know, but right now there is a plan somewhat to go back.
What I understand is all districts, superintendents, have to put a plan in writing and turn it into the state by 30 days before their opening date. So that would be the end of July for us. As we go back, the end of August. Right now, it's still fluid and planning. The district has sent out surveys to parents. I believe that they're sending them out to teachers as well about who is planning on coming back. If a hybrid situation, the plan as it stands right now loosely is a hybrid situation where there would be 2 groups, an A group and a B group. And the A group would go 2 days, and the B group would go 2 days, and 1 day would be remote wide district. We don't know what days that is, if
Right.
it's going to be 2 days together or alternate days. They would work as best that they could with families to make sure that all your children are on one schedule.
Right.
But you've got schools that have two levels, 2 building levels. So then you have to think, well, you can't have everybody upstairs, you can't have everyone downstairs. I mean, it's a very difficult process. I would not want to be the person that has to make this decision, because in any decision you never get everyone happy, but it's so fraught with people being concerned about safety, people needing to get back to work.
Yeah.
Childcare. I also work after school a couple of days at the childcare that runs out
Right.
of the school. That we don't know if that will be able to open.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And what will people do? I can send my kid to school 2 days a week, so maybe I can get in the office 2 days, but I have to be home by 2 because childcare's not opening. We don't know that yet.
Oh my God, yeah. It's a lot of unknowns and a lot.
of unknowns.
I'm thankful my children are grown and I don't have to really deal with this personally.
I was so thankful. I kept saying to myself, thank you that I did not have to deal with my 3 children
No.
who did not really need extra help.
Yeah.
Were good students, but still did not have to deal with trying to work or even not work, just do the schooling, support the schooling, because it is very stressful.
Yeah, very stressful on top of people's lives who, they're part of these decisions, but then they have their own lives too, and what stresses are going on, and what if somebody's sick in their family, or just,
Who might, you don't know the circumstances if someone has lost their job. It's just, and in a town like ours where you mostly know people like yourself, everybody has struggles. No one knows what goes on
Exactly.
behind closed doors, but I'm always surprised. Now I'm not as much being between church and school. The amount of children that don't have internet, computers.
Yeah.
You can't make those assumptions just because you live in an above average income town. You cannot make those assumptions.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I just got a really nervous feeling that this wasn't, but it is, being taped. I'm going, I don't know if you see me squeezing my eyes, but I was like, oh dear God.
I can always repeat.
No. Anything else you want to add, Michelle? I appreciate so much your time.
No, it's my pleasure. I just think that I've always had respect for teachers. When I was a stay-at-home parent, then we were on the PTA,
Yes.
and then we were room moms at UC New Level, and then working for the 15 years. And no one is perfect, and I think that they really rose to the teachers across the United States really rose to the occasion. This was not something that anyone could have planned for, and it makes me upset to see. I understand the best that I can because I'm not in that situation.
Yeah.
Of needing a sense of normalcy, of going back to work, of external pressures, because not everybody's boss is understanding that they need to be home, and I think that's a big problem. I think employers need to realize, like, this is not someone choosing that they don't feel like coming into work.
Exactly.
And it's not just them. This is a nationwide issue.
Sure
it's
is.
not just your employee. But I don't like when I'm reading teachers are lazy. They don't want to go back into school.
Yeah.
We are meeting 6 feet apart. We are having board meetings on, school board of ed meetings still on Zoom, which is nothing against our school. Our school board is volunteers, and I heartily support them.
Mm-hmm.
I would not want to do that.
No.
But people are still meeting on Zoom, talking about schools. But they won't meet together, but yet it's supposedly safe for children and teachers to go in. I don't know what the answer is
I know.
to that. But
There is
that's
no
kind of
answer.
odd to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of oddities.
I have my own concerns, but I'm waiting to see how they're addressed. I think that if I have a certain level of things that I'd like to see, I would be a lot more comfortable. We just don't know it. We just don't know it yet.
Just one more thing. When I was driving up here, well, I drive past Old Farmer School all the time because I live right off the road, but they're doing like a ton of work. It looks like cleaning out, and I imagine sanitizing and all that.
They are doing, because that referendum passed, they are getting a new roof, and they were doing something else, but unfortunately, while it was approved for new ventilation system and air conditioning, because that school's not air conditioned.
I know.
And
I remember.
That school has an ongoing issue with ventilation.
Yes.
They were not able to get that done over the summer due to, the COVID and everything being delayed, and I think there was another issue with the bond or something. I'm not entirely sure, but it did not get done.
Mm.
So you have that too. Do all of our schools have the ventilation that's required to,
Yeah.
and right now adults need to wear masks and possibly shields, but children only have to wear them if they can't maintain 6 feet apart. I've never been 6 feet apart from a child, especially a special needs child. I need to sit next to them.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I need
To
put my hand to redirect.
Yep.
Or sometimes they need a squeeze.
Yeah,
Say,
yeah.
"Hey, it's okay."
yeah.
Breaks my heart to think that I'm not going to be able to do that, because that's the best part of my
Yeah, it is.
is that connection. And
And it's sad. And yeah, especially for the
and
special.
also, again, when you said about social, not to keep talking, but when you said about social, a lot of these children need to see visual clues.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, yeah.
And while I try to smile and your eye,
Yeah.
not the same. They need to see your face. They need to see the smile.
That
They
you
need to see
approve
the
they're
not
doing
smile.
good.
They need
Oh,
to
yeah.
learn to read that. And And if they can't read their peers' faces or your face, that's a huge detriment to their social and emotional learning, which sometimes for these children is just, if not more important than academic. Because some of these children, we can only take them so far academic.
Right.
But we can take them further social emotional.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they're going to interact with people.
Yeah.
And that's how they're going to get through their lives.
Right, right.
So that's an issue. Also, a lot of these children we have a special reading program that these teachers are highly trained in.
Their mouth, like different movements,
we do things with our mouth. We do signals. We do they need to see that. That whole program gets lost when you cannot do that.
Yeah.
So it's really...
And it's hard to wear a mask. I feel bad. I've been outdoors at Chesapeake Tavern, a couple places where I feel bad for the servers because I don't think I could wear it all the time.
Now, I have not been out for more than maybe about an hour or so at a time with the mask, and I feel like I get this feeling I can't breathe. I know I can.
But yeah.
But this overwhelmed feeling, and I just think, maybe I should start, honestly, I'm thinking I might start practicing and just building up a little bit in my house.
Honestly,
because if we have to wear it for 8 hours, that's
God bless.
Very difficult.
Yeah. No, I've been going to physical therapy for my knee, which we're not going to talk about here because we'll be here all day. But we have to wear them inside. And I've never been a worker-outer, and, you can't really call physical therapy on a knee like you're really working out. But let me tell you, I get hot and out of breath on the 10-minute bike that I do. And I give credit to all the people, the supermarket workers who have to wear it all day.
Well, mostly kids in the very beginning.
Yes.
Going to Target and you pull up and they bring it right out. My heart would break because it would be like a high school kid or a college kid, somebody my own kid's age, and I thought, these kids did not sign up for it. They were just looking to make money for their college books.
I know.
Or their car or their gas money. Like, they did not sign up to be essential workers. It wasn't fair.
Yeah.
I felt really bad.
Yeah, it's quite a world that we're finding ourselves in, and
yes,
for so
is.
long.
Yes,
like
it is.
Basically half the year.
I'll leave you with this. I was talking with my brother yesterday, and he was saying something, and he said, pre-COVID, and it struck me that up until now it used to be before 9/11 and after 9/11.
You're right.
But that was a big
Oh
thing,
yeah,
and
you just gave me the chills.
This is another history thing. This is going to be before coronavirus and after coronavirus, and that really has stuck with me.
Yeah, and other things in the world. This year has been something.
Yeah, I'll be glad to see it go.
Yeah, I think you and most.
I don't want to wish away your time on
No,
Earth,
but
this one,
this
most
one,
people would say,
fast
"I'm gonna
forward
let it
or
go."
yeah. Well, thanks again, Michelle. I don't know what this is going to look like because my hand is shaking and it's going back and forth.
It's my pleasure.
But thank
Make me
you.
look skinny.
I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, bye.